So this week's episode was actually pretty fun, like most of these episodes have been, but they're getting more tolerable because they're finally starting to get closer together and less in denial. But at the same time, we're dealing with mental breakdown issues that affect our physical health and just a bunch of stuff going on this week. And then on top of it, let me know if you guys think the same thing, but for some reason this animation, especially in Aika, Wataru, and Kei, have just been kind of over the top. Even Rin and Kade, I don't know if they just kind of upped it a tiny bit or the staff had a little more time this week, but it just felt really crisp and just there. And like I said, that's just my opinion, so if you guys feel the same, you'll have to let me know down in the comments. But let's start talking about this episode. So it starts off pretty basic, the usual, how, Aika's kind of surrounded by a bunch of people. And the matter is that, the girls are kind of wondering, how so many people are talking to her because she's gotten so popular. And we see this blonde girl and two other chicks with her, and her name is Christine, if I remember correctly. And she's pretty much just staring at her through the classroom, all creepy like and shit. And right after that, our boy Wataru walks up and scares the piss out of her, and she makes this really weird arm wavy eek sound, and he legitimately just harasses her about it for a solid 2 minutes. It's absolutely freaking hilarious. But he's questioning her and why she's there and what she's doing. And so we find out she's trying to talk to Aika, but he scares him away for now. And so Aika comes around the corner and asks what it was all about, and he's don't worry about it, there's some strange people out there. It coming from him, I mean, I relate to him somewhat, but it's absolutely freaking hilarious. And the next scene cuts to him leaving the house to go to school with his nice blue umbrella, and we get this subtle theme throughout this episode, kind of to do with Wataru's I guess physical and mental well-being. But he's talking about how cold it is today, and he's running into Aika while doing this, and it's raining and everything, and he's a little bit ahead of her, and she's kind of questioning why he's there, she always kind of does. And he sees that this truck's coming, so he jumps right in front of her with the umbrella so that she doesn't get splashed by water, and he saves her ass. And it's really kind of nice of him to do, even if he wasn't interested in her in that kind of way. It'd be really nice if I had a friend or somebody that would do that for me, because dang, how considerate and awesome of this man. Though we get to school and he's got his gym outfit on, because obviously his clothes are completely soaked from protecting Aika-san, and he's talking about how it's not his day, which obviously it's clearly not his day. And so Aika comes up to him and offers him her handkerchief. And he doesn't really want to take it, but she pretty much forces it onto him, on his head. And then we get a nice little comic relief. We only get to see his back, but we get to see Takuro-san. And he offers him his handkerchief, and it smells like ass. And within 2 seconds, he passes out on his desk, right? Because he's got this deep headache. And falls asleep. Wakes up around third period, and he passed out before school started, so he's been up for a couple hours now. And he's gonna try to play it off like nothing happened, but the teacher notices right away, and she's tells him that she knows kind of what happened and what's up with his outfit, but he needs to pay attention to school. But he asks her to go to the infirmary because he's not feeling good with his headache and everything, so she approves of it, and he starts walking to the door, and he literally passes out and falls to the floor. And of course, like we've all realized at this point that Kei obviously sits right behind him, and so she's freaking out, that he's passed out on the floor. But what are you to do? So he has this flashback of the moment when, obviously, one that we've gotten a flash before quite a few times, where Aika comes and saves him after we get to kind of see the more full picture of it, where he kind of talks about he's kind of been like faking to be like a joker and kind of like happy hip all the whole time. And he goes to go eat lunch with his friends, and he's got curry, and he slips in a puddle and falls, and everybody's laughing at him, and she comes up and asks if he's okay. And that's pretty much the gist of the flashback, kind of like everything just kind of fell, and kind of reminiscent to what's going on now, how it feels like he fits in and he's trying to fit in, but then, all that stuff happens and she was there to save him. We go to the infirmary and we got Kay and Aika that kind of check up on him to see if he's okay. And the nurse says, he must have put on quite a bit of a show, but he's fine. He in his head, he has a fever. And so the girls go to look and check on him, and he's passed out, obviously. And they're like talking about like how cute his sleeping face is, which, obviously Kai kind of pushed that on there, but she likes to push that little envelope to kind of make Aika feel, like be honest with herself, which is apparently really tough for this woman. But he wakes up and the nurse is there, and he asks if he has a cold, and she tells him he has like a temperature of like 101. And that, he should just rest for a little while longer. And he tells her how he didn't really feel that sick this morning, like it was cold. But she pretty much says, it could have just been from the rain. And then on top of that, that includes like psychological things too. Like if you're stressing out from life or just anything to do, dealing with stress, that could cause you to get sick too, which is clearly a mix of both for him, because not only did he get soaked in rain, but he's been dealing with, how to deal with Aika and faking all of these things and just trying to be himself. So we get back to the classroom, and there's Aika kind of like blushing and looking down. You can tell she's really considerably worried about Wataru. And so all the girls are lined up at the door, and they're trying to figure out what it is. Well, sure as shit, it's Rin. And she comes into the classroom, and she walks up to Kai because she knows, obviously, that she's friends with Wataru. And even though it's been a while since they've talked, we established. And so she tells her that he collapsed, and she kind of freaks out and asks, obviously, if she's told her sister, and clearly she hasn't. But so they kind of go and establish that she's going to tell his sister, and that they were going to pay a visit after class. And so they decide to meet up after class to go visit him. But right after that, Aika comes and grabs Kai's cheek, and it was like, what are you doing there, little fucker? Like she's just like harassing the crap out of her, because she knows that Kai's like looked up to her for a long time. And so they go and they grab Wataru's bag, and Kai gives it to Aika to carry, because crush thing. And she keeps making these jokes about, you better be careful, it's really light, but don't shake it too hard, some naughty books might come out, which he's a teenage boy, it's definitely a high possibility, I'm not gonna say it's not. But they get to the infirmary, and they're like talking this, I wonder if he's awake. And they take a little peek in the room, and he's awake, but he's kind of hunched over, grabbing his like almost chest region, definitely deep in thought, right? And while he's doing that, Aika comes to like, put her hand on him to kind of check him, and he pretty much like freaks out, but not like in like a angry, mean way, but he pretty much tells her not to touch him and gives the excuse of that he doesn't want to give it to Heidi, her sister. And it's kind of more deep than that. I feel it's kind of a mixture of, doesn't want to get her sick, but also at the same time, he doesn't want to get his emotions all tangled up again. Even though he slightly can tell that she's got something going on with him, he doesn't want to get his heart broken or lifted up again and just to be shattered, because that's clearly a lot of things he's been thinking about dealing with, and it's got to be tough for him, But they go to leave, and even freaking Kai's like, isn't he just cute when he's all weak and vulnerable? It's just like, yeah. But they run into his sister and Rin, so they go back again, and this time Rin asks, if there's anything he wants, she'll go buy it for him. And then his sister pretty much says that she's going to call mom because she knows that he probably hasn't done that at all, which he clearly hasn't because he's been knocked out and everything the whole day. But right after that, we go to the next day, and he clearly stayed home from school because he needs to get over with this physically. Not the mental part, obviously, that's going to take some time. But he's got his face mask on. They come, it's Kai and Aika, freaking A. They come to go visit him, and you come to find out that he's got like a bunch of texts on his phone, and he was sleeping the whole time, and everybody gets pissed at him and pretty much tells him to die because he didn't reply to them. Like, real support unit, right? But we get there, and frickin', Kai's got to point fingers and says, that the reason that they came was because, Aika wanted to come and check on him, and she wanted to come check on him because she blames herself from him getting wet. She protected her. And right after that, they pretty much just leave after giving him this gift, right? In this paper bag, which, if I remember correctly, I don't think we actually got to see what it was. But they tell him to lock the door, but he doesn't need to lock him out. So he locks the door. We get to the next day of school, and we get to see that Christina girl again, or Clarissa, one of the two. And she's still trying to get Aika to join her for some reason. And we come to find out that's because she's trying to run for student council president, and she wants Aika to support her to get to student council president. Because obviously she's popular, she's cute, she's all these things that could draw attention to her. Well, Wataru points out the obvious that, Kai Senpai is going to be the next student council president. But then one of her buddies is like, technically speaking, anybody can be. But he tells her that, you're going to be upstaged. It's not going to work the way you want it to because she's so popular. And then on top of that, he says that she's way cuter than her, which really affects Aika. Like, you see this look on her face of just not disgust for once, but almost like, did he really say that? And so the other girl pretty much runs away, just pissed off because, from a boy's perspective, he's just being honest. I mean, of course, he has a crush on her, so it's a little biased, but nonetheless. And so we get Kai coming up to, them as well. And he asks her, like, what's wrong? What's wrong with her? And he's like, well, I call her cute, but I always do that. So I don't know why she's freaking out right now. And she tells him, that you said it so confidently that she probably actually took it, like a compliment. And so he tells her that she's cute again. Frickin' right after she goes around frickin' like telling him that he needs to calm down because he might still have his cold. And he calls her cute again, and she's like freaking out over in this corner, right? She is just freaking out, and it's absolutely adorable. You can kind of tell now that we're about halfway through the series that things are starting to like go that way, but knowing rom-coms, it's probably going to go that way and then take 2 steps back and then go back that way again by towards the end. We get to the credits, and then after the credits, we see that Wataru is looking for a part-time job to kind of help move forward in life. And he gets this job at this bookstore with this Oji-san, and apparently he collects a lot of mangas because, holy crap, that shelf looked tight. And pretty much all he wants him for is to deal with the customers and everything. The other guy will take care of everything. But he does try to dissuade him from the job because it doesn't pay too much. But I think at this point, Wataru just wants something to keep his mind busy. You know what I'm saying? So that's the end of the episode. I really loved it. I apologize for this being a day later than I normally do. Life just got busy. But damn, yeah, this was a really solid episode. And I feel like I said, that this is probably going to be one of my favorite if not my favorite rom-com of the season, or in a little while, honestly. Everybody keeps giving it hate and says it's boring and basic and average, but I beg to differ. It's got like so many aspects and ratios that are different than other shows, and a really awesome supporting cast and great humor. I feel like it's definitely going to hold a spot in my heart. It's early to say, we're only about halfway, but I think it will be. But yeah, that's pretty much today's video. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. It means a lot to me. And if you're really feeling awesome, hit that subscribe button. I appreciate it. I upload 2 times a week for reviews, and then I usually do one video of just what I've been watching and kind of feeling like talking about. But yeah, that's all I really got to say. So this has been Squids, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.